Today I'm joined by Dan Trabucco, who is one of 3 candidates running for 2 open slots in a 3-year term in the Pembroke Town, the Board of Selectmen, or Select Board. Welcome.
Hi.
I keep saying Board of Selectmen, and you've been Select Board for a long time.
Well, it was Board of Selectmen for
100 years.
longer than that.
Okay, question number 1. The proposed budget to be voted on at town meeting may be adjusted due to state aid, which has yet to be finalized. That aid may include a per pupil increase of up to $75 a head. Knowing that nothing is finalized, how do you frame your budgetary priorities?
Well, the town manager has done a good job being fiscally responsible, and knowing that the state budget is never finalized before our town meeting, he tends to be very conservative with it. So we're confident that anything that comes in through the state will be greater than what we have already allocated.
So you think that level funding will be fine because you're going to get actually more than what you got before?
It'll be, we're figuring on a small bump from the state, very small, and if anything comes in, we believe that it'll come in over what we have figured.
Okay.
So we're not going to put ourselves in a fiscal crunch.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Okay. Let's talk about the school budget versus the town budget. School budget this year is increased dramatically. Why is that, and what can you do to offset that?
So the school budget, the school has contractual obligations that they have to meet with the teacher salaries and the raises that they have negotiated. And also the school budget increases through the if there's a disabled child that has to be taken care of, they
special
have
needs,
special needs
or special
children,
ed,
and so that right there is a large draw from the schools, and that's increased with just the student population that we have that require those needs, and it's our responsibility to take care of those children, and it's also an unknown if a new student comes into town that requires those services as well. And the best thing that the state could do is to take over all the special needs payments for every town.
For special ed, you mean?
Special ed for every city in town. And that way towns could have a person that has a certain case that needs treatment many, many miles away. And the towns are responsible. It's the town's responsibility to pay for that transportation, to pay for that education, and if the state took over that responsibility, it'd even out the school budgets, not just in Pembroke, but every city and town.
Right. So the unfunded mandates that you get for special ed are unfunded. So aside from the state actually taking over all those payments, what moves can you make as the the authority, the board of the town, to go to the State House and say, we can't have mandates that aren't funded?
Good luck with that. It's not just on the school side.
I know.
The state has unfunded mandates that they throw on us often.
Housing, all kinds of things, right?
That's right. And as a matter of fact, the new MBTA housing mandate that they put on us, that's the most recent one. And so certain towns are fighting back against that.
Right.
Town of Pembroke has realized that you're really just banging your head against the wall to fight Beacon Hill on that one. So we've been proactive on that MBTA housing, and we've already allocated zoning to cover that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But getting back to the budget, aside from raising more taxes, how do you bring in more money?
Well, it's difficult to say we should foster more business in town, and we try, but Pembroke is located, between Boston and Plymouth. We do not have sewage in town, which is a big detriment to drawing business. That's why there are no hotels in Pembroke.
Because we don't have a town sewer.
We do not have a town sewer. It's only septic, and larger manufacturing companies require the water to come in and go out through a sewer system, and they can't store it on site.
Oh, okay.
So that's not having a storage system kind of stifles industry, not necessarily business, but
larger industry.
Larger industries,
okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And for the capital projects, the community center's ready to open, which is wonderful. The public safety building is going to be shovels in the ground probably next year?
Probably next year. It's
okay.
still in the design phase.
Okay. Is there any other big ticket items that you see that are coming up within the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, we're working on increasing our water service. So we have a brand new well that's already been it's just completed the permitting process through DEP, and we are going to pick the right place for that,
yeah.
build it, and get more water into our system. So that's a big one that we've been working on.
Okay.
The funding has been set aside for it already.
Okay, excellent. Okay. Do you think there'll be any problem passing your budget at town meeting?
I don't believe so. It's because you go back to the schools, for instance, the town manager, select board, and school committee have all gotten together and negotiated their budget. So that would have been the big one. If we couldn't come to a compromise on with the school committee, then that would have been that could have been a fight on town meeting floor. But again, we've come to an agreement, and that's a big portion of our budget.
Is this new that you work closely with the school committee on budgets?
No. We actually have a really good relationship with the school committee, and there are some years where the school gets the lion's share of an increase, and there are years when the town gets it,
right.
And it's a compromise, and it depends on where we are in that fiscal year.
Okay, perfect. Question 2, and we talked a little bit about this. Expansion of housing and commercial development would obviously affect the tax base. What is your vision for expansion? Now, you talked about commercial, large commercial can't come in because we don't have sewer, public sewer. What about smaller commercial? How do we bring more smaller commercial into the town?
So we have 2 industrial sites in Pembroke, and they're not 100% built out yet. So we want to be a welcoming community to businesses, and not put any restrictions on them, whether it's through bylaws or higher taxation. As a matter of fact, the select board every year meets with the assessors, and the select board needs to choose if we're going to have a single tax rate system or a dual tax rate system. And every year that I've been on the board, we always vote for a single tax rate, so that the businesses and the residential pay the same amount.
And that's so that you don't scare businesses away, correct?
So we don't scare businesses away, and also for the typical homeowner to see a worthy reduction in their tax rate, we would have to really ratchet up the business tax rate, and that's something that the board has just not wanted to do, because we want to foster business.
Right. And aren't some businesses owned by sole proprietors or people that actually live in town?
Yeah, so there's another part to that decision that we make. So part 1 is the dual tax rate or not, and also part 2 is whether we vote to allow the businesses to get a tax exemption as a business tax. But the catch there is it goes to the property owner, not the business owner. So if you take a mall that has several businesses in it, and the nail shop over here, the laundromat over there, or the dry cleaning business over there, those business owners don't get the tax benefit. The owner of the building does.
The owner of the building does. Oh, okay, interesting. Now, what about expansion of housing through ADUs or accessory dwelling units? Have you talked about that at all in Pembroke? A lot of surrounding towns are are changing bylaws to allow seniors maybe to stay in their homes longer, or for young people to move back and kind of have their own place within a home to live?
Yeah, so the planning board has worked on that, and we've actually passed zoning bylaws within the past 5 years or so to increase those accessory dwellings.
But you're not pushing that as a program.
Well, the fact that we allow it by right.
Oh, it is by right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so it is a push for it. There's a 500 square foot limit on it, so it's really for the single person or the couple that want to downsize. Yeah.
So they want to stay in their home. They can rent out the rest of the home, but they can stay in that smaller part.
Right, and what we found more than that happening is the parents want to downsize, and the children who went off and got married now take over the house
Yeah,
side.
which is really kind of a cool thing. Now, what about housing for young people? I mean, it seems over 55 gets a lot of attention.
Yeah,
What about people just starting out?
it is difficult for them, as you know. I have adult children that are
as do I.
in need.
Yeah.
So is there an exact plan for that? Not really, but, well, I shouldn't say not really. There's nothing on the direct horizon.
Yep.
But we do have an affordable housing committee that's very active. Judy Parks is the chair of it, and she's been an advocate for housing of all types her whole career, and that committee is looking into it. They're also have a program to look for smaller lots so that we can build friendly 40Bs in the smaller lots, so they're not these giant townhouse complexes. They're little ones dotted around town, and they've actually sought out these properties.
Now, do we have a land bank? Does Pembroke have a land bank, or are you thinking of having one so you can buy properties and decide what goes on them?
So we actually have a fund it's in the this town meeting warrant now to have a fund for that, a place that'll be a bank account.
Perfect. So that when something comes up, if you deem it something for the future that would be helpful for the town, you can purchase it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's creating the funds, not necessarily funding it yet.
Okay. Well, one step
Baby
at a time.
steps.
Yeah, baby steps. All right. Question 3. The constant upkeep of roads, delivery of clean water, and annual maintenance of ponds, for example, are often subjects that the residents find frustrating. How can you, as a member of the Select Board, effectively communicate the plans and procedures that are in place to handle these and other infrastructure subjects?
Right. So the town of Pembroke started a committee probably about 4 years ago or so, 5 years ago maybe, to start the capital fund, so that we would have a placeholder to put our capital monies in, and that way we can allocate them on a basis that makes sense.
Okay.
Because, and secondarily to that, we also decided through town meeting that the capital expenditures would come through that fund every spring town meeting. Previously, what would happen is it would be a free-for-all at fall town meeting, when we find out how much free cash we have, and then everyone charge up and put an article on town meeting to get every drop of it that they could.
Exactly.
And if you had like the fire chief at the time, was a very forceful character, and he generally got what he wanted, and then the other folks, usually the DPW, got pushed aside. So we now have a way to do it that makes sense.
Okay. So, and this capital fund is used proactively, not just reactively.
Correct. As a matter of fact, there's a plan in place, not only the Chapter 90 road money that we get from the state, but there's also a commitment from the town to spend $1 million a year on our roadway work. And that way we're always maintaining and going forward and not on the defensive, which is what we have been.
You have a schedule of maintenance and, yeah. I remember the old town manager used to talk about that all the time, the road program, and how important it was to keep that going on an annual basis.
And we had a road program. It just we just weren't funding it. We were funding it in a haphazard way.
Right.
Now we have a mechanism to work on it and maintain and keep the roads in shape.
Now, what about the water? Now, you said you're going to be putting in a new well, hopefully, if it gets approved.
It is approved.
Okay, it is already approved.
So the permitting process is already taken place, and that's the hard step. So we're going to find the best spot for the well. We have about 5 locations, test pits, and we're going to pick the right one and purchase the pump, and then pump it into the well that's in off of Elm Street.
Now, do you have to keep it in a big tank?
That's where the water goes, into the tank.
Okay.
So the well pumps the water.
Right, but you have to have a new tank, I guess is the question.
Well, right now, there's not a plan for a new tank.
Okay.
We're just going to keep that tank full. And,
okay.
We had a drought about 2 years ago or so, and
remember that.
It really got drawn down.
Right.
So now we have a way to keep it replenished.
Okay. And you think this well will take care of the town for the near future?
That's right.
Okay. Does the land that you're looking at, is it owned by the town?
We bought it for this purpose.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So all the property that you bought that you aren't using, what are you doing with that property?
The property that we bought?
Do you said you were 4 or 5 different locations?
Oh, that's within that property.
Oh, within the property. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're all set with this.
We're all set with this.
You guys are all set
well.
with that. That's
yes.
great. Okay. My next question to you. There are often 2 very different sides of subjects or subject matters that come before the select board. How do you navigate your personal opinions in regards to complex issues? And over the last few years, there have been a number in the town. There's been a lot of, and it's not just in Pembroke, in all of the towns that we serve anyway. Talk about that.
So, first of all, I have a lot of experience dealing with these type of issues, being a selectman for such a long period of time. Previously on the planning board, being on the planning board, you learn under fire when a new subdivision comes in town, and all the abutters charge into the meeting and say, I don't want this development, and
yeah.
My real estate agent told me that was conservation land and it can't be built on.
Yeah.
And I have said to more than one person, well, then why don't you spend $1 million, buy the land, and leave it as trees? Well, I don't have that. I said, well, this developer does, and this is America. He needs to make a profit off of it.
Yeah.
So he has property rights too. So you learn how to talk to people and respect their opinions, but disagree with them when you do. So I have no problem listening to people's opinions, and if I do disagree with them, I try to do it in a nice way, a rational way. Every now and then, you miss the mark on that, yeah. Which does happen. But if you show people respect and listen to them, and you don't, and sometimes the answer is no. And I don't have a problem with saying that, but there is a way to say it, and I try to do that.
Now, let me just ask you, did you watch the school committee had a very important meeting, I think, back in January in the high school and it was just about a policy about being able for students or people within the schools to be able to put up flags or pins or either political or advocacy notices in one way or another. And there was a 3.5-hour meeting that the town went through, and you heard all kinds of different opinions. And most of them were very respectful to each other, even though they disagreed. Did you attend that, and what did you think of that meeting?
I did not attend that. I did watch it subsequently online, but I did not attend it. The school committee needs to be able to do their work. So I didn't want to insert myself in the select board in that. I know some other members did go and participated, but I felt that I needed to let the school committee do their job.
Okay. And do you think that communication is good between the town and its residents, or can it be improved?
Oh, it can always be improved.
And how would you, if you had a magic wand, how would you improve communication between the town and all of its residents?
Posting on our website is a great way to do that. We do that. The one thing is that the mistake that I see made by me on occasion and other people from the town, whether it's the town manager or any official in town, is that you're so focused on a subject, and you know so much about it because you've been working on it every day, or even some things even for years, and you have to understand that not everybody's been doing that.
Right.
So even though you think that the information has been getting out there, other people are taking their kids to soccer practice, and they're not paying attention because they're living their lives.
Right.
So trying to get the word out.
So do you need like a communications person to do that? Exactly what you just said. Is if you have so much institutional knowledge in your head, it's hard to not know what you know and put into a paragraph, this is what I'm trying to talk about, to the layperson. What's the best way to be able to do that?
So there's never going to be a perfect way. And because there are times when, like on social media, for instance, someone will ask a question and I'll say, well, I know that answer. I put it out there, and all of a sudden, you get
pummeled.
You get pummeled. Like, I'm just giving you the information. So you tend to shy away from doing that. So there's a balance on both sides. There's a balance for the public to look for the information that we are putting out there, and for us to keep going, even though there are detriments to it.
Yeah. Now your town manager does have a weekly blurb that he puts out on the local scene, which gets a lot of play.
Does it? All right, great.
which is great. And he not only talks about town things, but he talks about like the schools and sports, and if there's a playoff game, and it's nice. It's a nice kind of little, just a brief look at what's going on this week in Pembroke, and that's what it is called, This Week in Pembroke.
Very good.
Okay, so my last question to you is a report card for Pembroke. What did we do what does Pembroke do really, really well that you'd give them an A+, and what do they need to work on?
So it's an interesting way to put that question. Communication, I think, could be something that they need to work on even more, just as we've just discussed a moment ago. And what do we do well? So I think our police, our fire, our public safety division, and our DPW do a very good job. I would speak to the schools as well. I think they do a great job too, educating our children. So it's a good town. I like Pembroke.
Like Pembroke, yeah. Okay. All right, great. So we're going to have you spend 2 minutes talking to the constituents and telling them why they should vote for you for yet another 3-year term.
All right, very good. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Trabucco. I'm running for the Select Board in the town of Pembroke. And there are 2 seats available, and I would appreciate it if you voted for me for one of those seats. I've been a selectman for 15 years now. Prior to that, I spent 7 years in the planning board. So I've served Pembroke for all that time. I look at serving as a select board member the same way someone might serve as a coach or a scoutmaster. It's what I can do to help the town and be a part of it. And people have told me that I do a good job, and hopefully you've watched me and seen me work and how I talk in the meetings. I speak to topics that can be complex, and I try to make the residents understand what they truly mean. I try to read in between the lines for them. So I'd like to continue doing this for another 3-year term, and the town election is May 18th, and hopefully you can go out and vote for all the available people that are running, but also for me, Dan Trabucco, Select Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Best of luck to you in your campaign and during this election season. And thank you all for watching. Please make your voices heard by voting on or before May 18th in the Pembroke Town election. Thank you and good day.